everyone, and welcome to today's lesson. Today we're going to be learning how to create melodies in a DAW we're going to use called Soundtrap. One of the things I want you to keep in mind that if you're using this video, at any point you can always stop the video if you need to see the instruction and then go do it. So you can pause the video if you need to hear something again. You can always back the video up so that you can see or hear the explanation again. So keep in mind with the video that you always can pause and play or back up however you need to get the instructions. Okay, so let's begin. The first thing I need you to do, and it's really important, is that you log into your student portal first. Once you log into your student portal, you want to find that tab to get you into your G Suite for Education. So once you click on G Suite, that's going to take you to your Google Drive. And then once you get that Google Drive open, we're going to kind of leave that for a second. And I want you to go open a new tab. And in that new tab, I want you to type in soundtrap.com and then hit return. And when you do that, that should bring you to a screen that looks something like this. And then from this screen, you're going to click on the Education button. When you click on the Education button, you may get a screen that looks like this, where you just have a bar that you're going to put in the class code, or you may get a pop-up window that says Join as a Student. Either way, you want to look for a place where you're going to enter our class code. And our class code is going to be right here. So this PNNPP2A. Again, if you need to pause the video here to type that into the website, that PNNPP2A, you're going to type that in and then you're going to click Get Started. Okay. Now, once you do that, that should get you into Soundtrap. So now that you're registered in Soundtrap, now I want you to go back to your Google Drive and just leave Soundtrap there for a while. Now, once you get to your Google Drive, I want you to click on your waffle over here in the right and select Google Classroom. And that should bring you up to a list of your classes, and you want to click on our class that we have today. And when you get there, it may start off here at the stream, but what I want you to do is click on the classwork tab. That's the tab that we're going to be using most often. Once you get to the classwork tab, here you can see that your assignment for today, creating a melody in Soundtrap. So go ahead, let's click on that to open it up. And there are some instructions here. But what I want you to go ahead and do is click on the link to the Soundtrap assignment. And you should already be logged in because we did that just a second ago when we signed you up. But once you click on that link, your screen should look something like this. Now, the first thing I want you to do is up here on the track header, I want you to click on that instrument. And when you do, that's going to open up this keyboard diagram at the bottom. If not, you want to make sure that this instrument button is selected and not piano roll. So instrument. Now, from here, if you look at the keyboard here at the bottom of the screen, you should notice that you have some the letters here are going to correspond to the keys on your computer keyboard. So if you type this letter V, that's going to give you a pitch, and then B, N, M. Okay, so this will be a good place to pause the video for a second and just experiment. Take a couple seconds to play with those 5 keys on your computer keyboard. Now, also notice on the top row of the letters, if you start on the letter W and then go up to the next 5 letters to the right. Okay, that gives you those same notes, F, G, A, B, C, on your computer keyboard. Again, I want you to take a few seconds to pause the video and play around with those notes. Another way to look at this is if you see this diagram that I've included on the slideshow, gives you another view of how those notes are set up on your computer keyboard. So these are going to give you the F, G, A, B, C, and then this row is going to give you those same 5 notes, but it's going to be an octave higher. Now, once you've got familiar with those notes on the keyboard, the next thing I want you to do is look up right below the timeline. This is what's called your cycle bar. If you click on that, that's going to turn to purple. And then if you put your cursor here on the right edge, click and drag to the left. So that's going to set up a 4-measure cycle on those 4 measures. Now, also, if your screen looks like this, if you come over here to these magnifying glasses, click on the plus and you can zoom in to see these 4 measures up close. And now, down here at the bottom, these are what are called the transport controls. You've got record, stop, play, but you can also use your space bar to activate. So press your space bar and listen to the 2 tracks that I've already included in this assignment. And then if you press your space bar again, it's going to stop the playback. Now, what I'd like for you to do is if we go back to our keyboard, and I want you to take a look at these keys. And if you can see with these arrows, I've got these numbered. So on the bottom row, the letter N, which would be the note A, we're going to play first. And then we're going to go up to that less than sign for the C, and then down to the V for the F, and then B, which is for the G, before we go back to N. So, and notice we're not playing the B or the M key at all. So in order, we're going to go N, less than, V, B, which is going to be the notes A, C, F, G. So if we play those notes in order, we would have A, C, F, G. And then we're going to return to the first note. So if you think about this as four beats each, I want you to play that sequence like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. At this point, pause the video and practice playing those 4 notes in that order on your own. Once you're comfortable playing those 4 notes in that order, if you go back and listen to the tracks I've included, there are 4 measures. Measure 1, measure 2, measure 3, and measure 4. So what I'd like for you to do as you listen to the playback is in measure 1, you're going to play that first note A, and then at measure 2, you go to the C, measure 3 to the F, and 4 to the G. So it should sound, I'm going to listen to this loop one time through before I begin. And now I'm going to start. So at this time, you can pause the video and then spend a few minutes practicing playing those 4 notes along with the tracks that I've already included. As you're doing this, listen carefully and notice how as you change notes that the harmonies underneath are also changing with it, and those fit together. Pause the video and practice that sequence for a few minutes. Once you get comfortable playing those notes in sequence and hearing the changes in the chords as you're playing the notes, the next step is I want you to experiment by just playing the same 4 notes but adding some rhythmic interest to what you're doing. For example, so now pause the video and again spend a few minutes improvising some rhythms to those same notes. Now, once you get comfortable adding some rhythmic activity and interest, the next step is add some different notes in each of the measures. So instead of just using 1 note per measure, add some of the other notes, any note that you want to. The idea is that as you switch measures, the beginning of each measure, you want to start on that note we practiced at the beginning of each measure. So, for example, so as I did that, I heard some things that I liked, I heard some things that I didn't really like, but the idea is that you're just experimenting, you're just exploring. It's what we call improvising in music. So at this time, pause the video again and spend a few minutes just exploring and improvising some different melodic ideas on top of the other tracks. Now that you've developed some ideas that maybe you like, it's time to actually record. So to do this, first we want to make sure that our playhead is back at measure 1. Then we want to make sure that we turn our metronome button on. And if we click this gear, it's going to give us the controls for what's called the count in and the sound that we're going to hear. I'm going to adjust my volume up a little louder. So with a 2-bar count in, you're going to hear 8 clicks before the recording starts. So once you hit record, you're going to have a little bit of time to get your finger set up on the keyboard so that you're ready to play. So that way you don't have to record as soon as you hit that record button. When you reach the end of the 4th measure, simply hit your space bar to stop the recording. So let's give it a try. 5, 6, 7, 8. And so once you hit the space bar to stop the recording, you can immediately hear the loop that you created. Now, if you create something and you just don't like what you created, you could always delete it. But I would encourage you to never delete, because you never know when an idea that you think maybe isn't so great at first, you can maybe work on it and make it better later. But if you'd like to do it again, what you can do is mute that track, and then you want to add a new track. And on the new track, you want to probably select synthesizer, and you can change the sound that you use. If you want to go back to a guitar sound, you can, or if you want to try some different synthesizer sounds, you can do that also. So once you select a sound, and then again, make sure your playhead is back at the beginning, click record and wait for your 8 clicks. 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, I really didn't like that. So I'm just going to click that and delete it. Take my playhead back to the beginning and record again. And you can do that as many times as you want to record additional tracks. So now pause the video and take some time to record your melodies. Now, once you've got some melodies created, it's time to collaborate, which is one of the cool things about Soundtrap. So over here on the right side, if you click this green button, it's going to open your collaborator window. If you click on this invite, it's going to save your project. And if you enter the name of someone else who's registered for your class, and it's important to keep in mind that you can only collaborate with other students in your class. You're going to type that name in and then click invite. Once you click invite, if you return to your home screen, and this is how you get there, Soundtrap Home, when you get back to the home screen, any invitations that you got for projects should appear here, and you're just going to click on that invitation, and that's going to take you to your partner's project. Now, once you get back to your partner's project and you're in that collaboration window, you can listen to your partner's project. If you want to leave comments for your partner, there is a instant messaging down here that you can type messages. If anyone makes a change, like let's say for example, you might have a suggestion for adding a drum track to the melody. You can use the loop library or create one of your own. But if someone makes a change, you're going to see a sync button pop up here near the top of the collaboration window. If you click on that sync button, then it's going to update your view so you can see the changes that were made. I would encourage you, anytime you're collaborating with someone, particularly if someone has invited you to their project, never ever delete that other person's work. If you are going to delete something, you always want to ask first and then confirm. So if you have a suggestion for the melody, maybe you can create a new track and record that suggestion and then let the other person sync. And if they want to keep that change, then let the original owner of that project make those changes. But always be sensitive to the fact that when you're being invited into someone else's project, you don't want to change anything permanently, at least without asking them. So at this time, again, you can pause the video and see if you can find a collaborator to work together on your project. Now, Once you've finished working or making any changes on your project, always make sure to click the Save button to save your work. When it comes to submitting your project for assessment, you do not have to turn it in. You don't have to copy it and send it anywhere. The fact that as long as you've used that link that I gave you in Google Classroom to get the Soundtrap, I will automatically be added as a collaborator on your project as the teacher, which means that I can see your project. You don't have to turn it in. After I listen to it, I will be leaving comments and suggestions in the collaboration window that you can see. And then once we get to the point where we get to the assessment, this is also where I will post your grade so you can see the grade that you got for this particular project. Never be afraid to make mistakes or make bad music, because as you're learning to create music, you're going to create a lot of bad music before you start learning how to make really good music. The important thing is to experiment, explore, get feedback from peers or other folks, but don't judge yourself too harshly. This is always a process in developing and refining music. The thing that's important is that you just enjoy the process of creating music that comes from your own imagination. So I hope you have fun. If you ever have any questions, you can always contact me through email, and I'll be glad to help you any way that I can.